Okay, we need a third party to really consistently get the screen. So far, no. But we can touch on some important things. So I'm adjusting the. Yes, that's pretty square. Okay, and all of this can be edited out. So okay, and not that the world is not at war, but we obviously are witnessing the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, and unsettling. Okay, now spotlight, so I make sure that I'm spotlighted. Hello, Cliff. So anyway, we're just going on that today we are witnessing the invasion of the Ukraine by Russia. Unsettling. So much as I grow older, it just war makes less and less sense, So on the other hand, we have it. And Aikido, Wago no Michi is a lot of times translated as the art of peace. But it's more like the art of harmonization. Peace is a word. To some degree, peace doesn't exist. The only peace that may exist is an interior one. Okay, everything out there is movement. Sometimes the movement swings in a direction we don't like right now. But then again, it's been swinging back and forth with the pandemic and everything. So what's the role of Aikido in a time like this? Ironically, it's a little bit like if I can't find some level of interior harmony. Harmony is a word that's very different than peace. Peace. It's an idea that you may feel there's peace, but there's always something going on out there. Harmony means that there's always going to be some sense of conflict. But there is a perfection where we can take that, incorporate that into a much larger sense of harmony, disharmony, harmony. And then we can create with those forces interiorly maybe a sense of peace. If two aspects of me is at war, I believe in spiritual ideals, but the world is, okay, that's a lot of conflict. That's a war, but an interior one. So just taking a second or two, it's just, sometimes you look up and the whole world is just like a storm. And when I'm there, my breathing is kind of high. But that's like a storm at the top of the ocean. I'm gonna kind of settle a bit, my breathing gets to here. There's still a lot of movement going on. I settle more into the belly area. There's less movement going on. I can settle feet below hips now. Breathing just very, very balanced. There's movement down there, but it's different. There's a stillness to it. So if we're talking about areas up here, out there, that world's still going on. But right about here, there's movement, but it's less For example, the heart center. You can feel for what's going on, both for the Ukrainians and the Russians that are forced maybe to do something they don't really believe in. I'm sure there's a lot of that there. We'll settle here. See, I do have my ideals. And I can get very, very agitated or extreme up here. A little bit more balance here. But if you're going to be an agent for harmony, whatever form that takes in the moment, requires some belly. Like kind of playing the game that hips to feet, maybe even past the feet. That's the bottom of the ocean, deep. Still, there's a movement going on, but it's very different than the upper ones. I notice my breathing syncs up with that. And what happens is more of a clarity. I sort of understand the 1 and the 2 and the 3, and then that 4th level. See, there can't be any harmony without clarity. Who am I? I'm a person in this world with all this conflict going on. I can have a bit more feeling compassion. Belly center gives me a certain sort of resolve. Whatever's going on, I have a sense for who I am and what I stand for. And then that deeper, deeper, deeper. That's where the calm is. Simple breathing exercise. Okay. So something that if you have a second or two, you can kind of check the 4 levels of breath there. Ideally, in very, very troubling times, it's like there's a storm going on, that 4th level, kind of like a storm shelter. You're everything going on up there, but there's a kind of a feeling of being sheltered or protected down there. And what I call that peace. You see things for what they are. There's a transparency. Words are basically stupid, but they exist. Okay? Yeah. The whole thing is sometimes run by the people at the top, a combination of ego, economics, and then a lot of people are forced to kind of go this way. And it's really sad. There's no winner. Anyway. So, one of the things that we can do for example, the martial arts oftentimes can be seen as war arts, in other forms, boom, bayonet, spear, okay? But the reading for Bu, martial, Bu Jitsu, Bu Do, Bu Shin, whatever, is about stop the spear. In fact, the reading infers it's not just one spear, it's 2 spears. The whole feeling, if you get the character for Bu, as in Budo, martial way, Martial way is oftentimes translated here as martial arts. Budo is martial arts, but the way is maybe a different thing than just an art. Okay. Shodo, calligraphy. Okay, the way of the pen. All right. So from here, for example, we go into this part of the 30 movements. It's kind of a war position, isn't it? Okay. And that first motion is a thrusting motion off of that. Boom. And then there's the up and the down. Boom, boom. And a rethrust. Boom. That takes the movement 8. Now we go over here and we are, that takes us to movement 10. Up a little bit. Thumbs face each other. There's some sort of an attack from the back. Go this way, cover both head and face. Can actually cover lower 2. Okay. 11, 12, thrusting forward. 13, up and down. 14, again, a change. Thumb facing. Back. 15, thrust. Thumbs face each other. Pivot, turn, strike. 16, 17. Not dropping your weight. There's that feeling, for example, we kind of went to that level 4, which was like the deep, deep, deep breathing that's at the bottom of the ocean. That's that feeling. That's what's okay. 18, 19, 20, step back. 21, forward, sweep. 22. Now, rightward first, down, leftward, and up. 23. 24, back. 25, first to the fire water changes with a step back. 26, left up, right back, cover. 27, second to the fire water changes. 28, sweep, cut, turn. 29, we're moving to the side, thumbs face, watch that, here. Right hand thumb away, left hand thumb towards, step back, movement 30. Okay? So that is what I would say is, I think is movement 5 through 30. Okay? Okay, but we also start off with more ritual, okay, which is movements 1 through 4. Okay. Movement number 1. Hand here, right hand. Okay. And feeling kind of your lower belly area is different than thinking about it. Thinking about it, I bet you secluded in your feel sense of yourself. All right. And right about here, for example, you can look at this in terms of what Ueshiba was going to say. He kind of went into the Kojiki, the book of Japanese creation myths. An original wholeness, balance. Well, now right when the left hand grabs here, that has to go into shoot. I mean, you could do it one-handed, but even there's an upper and a down. So there's 2. Okay. The second is touches, we can say the right hand represents Izanagi, the left Izanami. All right, so the original, whatever, divides into two. Masculine, feminine, although it's not about gender. We can say one's fire, one's water, this is the. Now, the two of them together were the jewel spear of the ancient myths, stirred the heavenly brine. Rightward, upward spiral, it's counterclockwise, leftward, downward spiral. And then, boom, there was that sense where the drops that came out of that congealed into the islands of Japan. So it's a creation myth. The islands of Japan represent whatever there was, dividing into two. The act of creation, boom. So whatever it was, splitting into two. She's stirring the brine because there are two, right? That's stirring the brine. It could just say, okay, we could just go like that, which would be the way we look at it. You stir it up, but the drops come through. And to some degree, you're going boom right here. There's a physical feeling to that. That original beingness, whatever you want to call it. The original of the fight, heaven, earth, or water fire, or Izanami. And what the jewel spirit represents. And then, Osensei would say, the founder, standing on the floating bridge of heaven, which is a place where opposites, Izanami, masculine, feminine, come together, stir things up, and brings things into being. Okay, so one way of kind of looking at our first four moves. Okay, and we go back to the original reading of Bu Marshall. Means to stop the spear. Stop the spear. Now, also stop two spears. The original reading of Bu Marshall was about harmony. Let me say peace. If you got two, got one thing, it is what it is. It can be peace, it can be chaos. If it's the only thing that exists, you can't call it chaos. Okay. So that one thing, you have to split into two. And the two could have gone it this way, but and where this came from, I have no idea. He stirred the brine. They call it heavenly, but it's not, like two people standing on a bridge kind of doing this. So the stirring has both the up and the down. It's also two. And all of that coming together. Okay, so it's just a more detailed reading of what we do with the beginning of the 30 movements. Cliff, anything about that? Does that seem to ring like it makes any sense at all? Or
I really like what you were saying about the first four movements, the way of thinking about them. That resonated with me.
Well, you can kind of go through, the whole thing where it's just ritual. Story I say, is like, how old was I? Maybe about 13 or 14, and I'm watching basketball. There used to be the NBA, right? And a lot of the players, they would go like this and then shoot free throws. So, I would do that because I was copying the NBA players, right? And I would shoot my free throws. And my mom saw me and she said that, son, we're not Catholic. I went, oh. See, to me, I had absolutely no context for this as anything other than what the NBA players were doing. But my mom says, we're not Catholics, then we're Buddhist. I went, oh. So, you can turn it into ritual, but, examining it on more depth. In other words, up here, well, we don't go this way. We go this way first and then this way. You can kind of, And down here, you start to kind of feel a little bit more, but why have a war over it down here? But, I like the way I do it. I'm perfectly okay with somebody else doing the opposite. And down there, that's kind of that original area before the thing split into two, right? They have a genealogy for creation. Okay, so in some sense, there's a lot of stuff that goes on just within those initial movements. What in the world the heavenly brine means is like the original primordial nothingness chaos. But it had to kind of go, with itself. Then, it says, I can't do anything being this way. Oh, realization. I need to be two. And why in the world create the two to be this way? Create the two, so there's what you call creation of strength in numbers. Has nothing to do with the Warriors, our local team in the NBA, but Izanagi, Izanami. All right. Creation takes teamwork. They fought with each other and trying to get the spear and spear each other there. It just would have been, if there was chaos before, although I don't think you call it that, it's just something that people kind of want to, in Osensei, like in the beginning there was the Word and the Word was God. Okay. But that's already kind of in the, the Western sense, to make it into one. Okay. More Eastern, in the beginning there was something. Okay. It has kind of settled with itself and experience itself a bit like a right, left, right, or an up, down, up, whatever. And whatever it was came together. The actual floating bridge, one of the things that had to happen was an attraction. Boom, boom. Stir up whatever was there. In other words, we tend to think looking down because at the beginning there was a Word, the Word was God. Okay. This is stirring up. Izanagi stirring, Izanami stirring. There's teamwork, and then boom, take two of them, along with the magic spear, to create the islands of Japan. Just a little bit of a user's manual, so to speak, which oftentimes is ignored. Yara, anything you might add to that, or you don't have to, by the way.
No, but at the visualization, actually, I like it when I do that. When I think of stirring something up and coming down, feels good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. In other words, if we kind of go over the first four. What's now? Nothing and everything. Everything's happening at the same time. But whatever was there starts to kind of feel itself. Beginnings of an up, down, and interior, okay? So original beingness, whatever you want to call it, it had this, whatever's there, to this. So that's really our movement. Our movement is not so much one, it's really whatever was there to this. But once it's sort of settled with itself, it realizes, oh, I need two to do anything. So second, this happens, you have your izanagi, izanami, izanami, izanagi. Amaterasu, susano, susano, materasu. Your yin, your yang, your fire, your water, your heaven, your earth. Two as a team stir up whatever was there. It's translated as heavenly brain. Who knows what that was? It was physicists just talk about it. Sometimes they call it stuff. Simple. We don't know what it is. We'll just call it stuff. And here, rightward, upward. So right there, you know, I'm kind of mimicking it. I'm beginning to feel and watch my arms. Now watch the whole body in that motion. Boom, boom, boom. Whoa. Now on the way down, leftward, clockwise. Boom, boom, boom. Establish that's the stirring, and then the islands of Japan, or conversely, we come into beingness at that point. Okay? All right? So that's, you know, just a little bit more. I'm kind of going into this because, you know, you start out this way. Well, it's, you know, right now there's war in the Ukraine. And, you know, this, if you look at Aikido as a martial art, war art, and its inception, even in that culture, was very different. Okay? And, you know, instead of Izanagi and Izanami fighting for the spear, they work as a team. Harmony. And sometimes we get too carried away with peace. Peace is something, boy, I've had a tough day. I just want to zone out and okay? Whereas for things that continue to work, there's ongoing vigilance. And maybe there's a joy that comes out of that harmonization, which is a little different than peace. Okay? Now, okay, so let's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's this posture. Remember here, just basics. You hold from the top. You get sloppy, you hold this way like a rifle. But the difference, I could be asleep here. But here, if I'm asleep, I drop it. So it's much more active standing. Thumb on top of it, you kind of go this way. So you get sloppy, but to tense. So it's finding that zone. Izanagi, Izanami. As a team. Movement number 5. Point, left foot, base, right foot. Hip. Hip is about heart level. 6 is that first thrusting motion. Again, you extend the arms out fully. Not that, but also not this. And then you add that double spiral close. Okay. Not a tensing, a focusing. Boom. Tip is heart level. And if I go right hand heart level, then which we're not going to do, hit something, it just backs up. So the right hand is in front of the heart and slightly under it. So there's a slight upward here. That's movement 6. 7 is up, cover the head, also cover the face. If you know something, you can actually cover almost anything here, but cover the head. 7 is both up and down, and at the end of the second phase of it, boom, there's that, yes, boom, boom. Just like there's boom, there's also boom. Okay. 8 is repeat of 6, boom. 9, hands trade places. Feet trade places, we're back to our original. And it's a cut, this is about. Now, I'm not going this way, but the arms are extended here. There's an extension. If I need to reach out, I can do that. And then raise, cover the head, go back to the left position, this way. Okay. Important, we said the character for Boo, martial, means not just to stop the spirit. So it's not like, okay, I'm going to spear you. No, I'm going to stop the spirit. The inference is 2 spears. You're stopping the conflict. You're creating harmony. Okay? And one of the things here, for example, as we're thrusting, the body's rotating. So as we're thrusting, if I go like this and somebody's coming that way, there's a flash. Here, if there's an incoming, that's more yang factor. There's a yin turn to the hips, gets you off the liner. And at the same time, you see the arms don't, the circle or spiral doesn't happen out there. It happens, the arms just go this way, but the hips turning creates that. So as an incoming, you can be off the line of that and show, boom. See what happens when one of us gets out of line? Let's work together as a team. We're showing the opening. And right up here and down. Same thing for the striking cutting movement. Okay, I've got, both of us come at each other. There's a clash there. Okay, even here, if there's something as incoming, so we're rotating. And here, we're showing the opening. See what happens? Right about here, it's the same thing. Harder on the other side because your feet are crossed. And the turning of the hips that gets you off the line of an incoming also creates some power in the actual cut or stroke. So that's our first 10. Okay? So let's go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Whoops. 7 is both and down. 8, 9, and 10. Let's do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, both up and down. 8, repeat 6. 9, cut or strike from the right. 10. And again, we're also investigating that. It's not like you're not doing this to win. We're going to do this faster, stronger than you. No, you're receptive to their movement. And your thing is to say, point out there's an opening if you're the aggressor. Okay. Now Russia will face very severe economic sanctions from the rest of the world. Exactly how much we're going to get drawn in, aside from that, is yet to be determined. Okay, so that's the first 10. Just going through, for example, now from here, thumbs face. Everything we've done so far is with the thumbs facing the same way. That's the first change. Now, thumbs face each other. We're going to change angle. We're going to turn, cover the hand. Step in and thrust. Boom, still thumbs face each other. And up and down. Okay? So we go from the first 10, which is to the next couple of movements. 11, 12, 13. Thumbs face is second change. Now, the thrust is still the spiral. That's not my knees, right? I hit first, I'm faster and stronger. Right now, what we're trying to do is, okay, Russia, you're coming in. Now we're going to hit you with real extreme economic sanctions. Okay, so that's our attack right now. Hopefully, it has an effect, but sometimes insanity doesn't listen to anything. So we'll see. Okay, so that's all the way up to 13. We'll change angles here. 11, 12, 13, 14. You're right, thumbs face, that second change, you go to the third change. Now both thumbs face me. First of all, it goes back, 14, and it goes forward, 15, 14, 15. Now I'm going to release, so we're going to go back to the second grip. And the hands are going to trade places. Right hand, left hand, so it's just going to naturally rotate. Okay? Now this is turn, pivot, cut. That's 16. Okay? Turn, pivot, cut. So if we were, for example, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now, thumbs face each other. Let's just rotate. 16 is turn, sweep, and cut. Boom. And again, you're off the line of an incoming, hips rotating. Now 17, is that motion? The hands are right there. Now exactly what 17 is. The form of it is really just the first change. But we did the breathing practice. Breathing high, it's like a storm right now. You know? So, and breathing is nose up here. Settle where your breathing starts to. Right about here with more heart, you have compassion. You have compassion for both the Ukrainians, who are being invaded, and for the Russian soldiers that maybe don't want to do it. Then, right about here, you know where you stand. Well, since the word is, you stood for peace. You stood for the harmony that's possible. Wago. Hey, was peace. But in the art of peace is kind of catchy, so they translated the art of peace, but it's really the art of harmony. And from the waist down to the feet and even into, there's that bottom of the ocean. And that storm going on up here, the bottom is very calm. It appears almost to be still in contrast to what's going on. Your breathing starts to. Now, that last motion, we're standing there. And what happens, there's a weight to it, which is different than weight out there. Okay, so that's my sense. And there's a little bit of a double spiral there, but it's not like that. Okay. Sometimes we talk about the trap door. There's some of that. Okay. So let's go through movement 10, 11, 12, 13. Now, third change, 14, 15. Hands go back to the second change. Turn, pivot, stride. That's 16, 17. Okay. Now, 18, you go back to here. You thrust, somebody coming behind you. 19, somebody thrusts there. They're going to rotate the hips. Somebody's coming behind you. 21. Okay. So that's movements 10 through 21. Okay, let's go through it again. Back to them, face each other. 18, thrust back. 19, thrust forward. Rotate the hips. 21. Sweep upward. 22. Okay. I probably got the memory just a little off on that one, so let's go through it again. Okay. I don't think in terms of numbers, but sometimes the movements happen, but the numbers get a little skewed. So 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Now 22. It's this motion here. Okay. Second you grab it, it becomes first change, but this is here. Okay. The fifth change comes from basically weapons taking, namely knife, okay? For example, here, I got what I can do ETO position. If there's something sharp, it cuts. So here, I direct the blade away, and then I step in and take. That's more what we call taijutsu or body. Boom, boom. Okay, it's 22, okay? Okay. Now 23, you actually grip in the first change position. Now what I'm going to do is rotate the hips, drop the tip to the right. I think of this as windshield wipers here, and then we go here. And we do this motion. All we're doing right here is this is 3 movements. Now here the hips rotate. Hips rotate. We go from right to left. Up. This is movement 23. Drop it. Windshield wipers, right to left. Now, cover the head. The hips are rotating. And move. Okay. 23. Now we're going to step back, reverse the hands. 24. 25 is the first of the fire water changes. Spear point would be down. Okay. Right hand thumb down, step back, 25. 26 is simply change hands again, lift up. Feet don't move, you're covering the head again. 27, rotate the spear point away. And see, it would be thumb down, but it's thumb facing away, so fire water change. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is grab. Here, that's all 28, but 28, sweep, step, turn, cut, that's a lot. 29, thumb space. Okay, now, thumb space me. Now this is possible, so rotate your hip, get the spear point going this way, thumb space each other. 30. Okay, that last one. That last, I would say from 22 or 23 through 31. That's the basis for a lot. Okay. For example, we go here, drop, drop. Rotate the hips back. Boom, 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 boom. What you're really doing is a two-handed figure eight motion. Figure eight motion, that's easy. Two-handed figure eight. Again, he's an Ami, working together to produce. Okay. This is number 23. 24 is step back. 25, step back with a fire water change. 26, turn. 27, fire water change. See, would be here. In this, but it's thumb space away. Grip with the right hand, sweep, step, turn, cut, that's 28, 29, thumb space each other, tip fits behind you, thumb space away, thumb space, step back. And that is the whole thing in terms of that. But when you get a little bit more with it, it looks like this. It gives you the basis for a lot of what I call the more takemusu movements. Now, takemusu is a term that Ueshiba or Sensei referred to, takemusu aiki. Okay? And take is very interesting. It's an old reading for bu or martial. Take. Musu is giving birth to. It's another reading, a more ancient reading of what? Umu, which is to give birth. Take musu. So he said the Aikido he was doing was Take Musu Aiki. It was creating the state of stopping the two spears. Okay? So he was really talking about creation. And if we go back over the original ritual thing, it has a lot to do with Izanagi, Izanami, standing on the floating bridge of heaven. You know, the heavenly brine is not necessarily out there. Heaven is a funny word that way. Okay. So the last movements, 23 through 30, they give you sort of the beginnings of the ability to do what I would call more the takebusu movements. Okay, any questions so far on anything we've covered? The first four, how that integrates into the rest of it? Anybody?
This is very great detail work. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, you know, the details are funny because the details, they say the devil can be in the details, okay? When I was in grad school, I was really struck because it was Russian language literature by Dostoevsky's Legend of the Grand Inquisitor. And that's from the novel, The Brothers Karamazov. In Russian is Bratya Karamazov. Yeah. I don't really know any of that stuff anymore, so I'm just kind of speaking about it through the fact I don't know it anymore. But that is a section of that novel, The Brothers Karamazov. By the way, if you haven't read Dostoevsky, Dostoevsky's really good. All right. But, you know, in that particular thing, Christ comes back during the Inquisitions. And nobody knows who he is. All right, so he's brought before the Grand Inquisitor. Now, the Grand Inquisitor is the Inquisitor, the number one. He's the one that's directing it all. But he's smart enough to recognize Christ. So they have this discussion. Actually, it's not a discussion because it's the Grand Inquisitor talking at Christ. And basically what the Grand Inquisitor says, that what Christ represents, which is free will, is too much for people. All people can handle is what he, the Inquisitor, can provide, which is ceremony, pomp, and whatever. Dogma. This is right, that's not. Okay, this spear point's right, the other one's totally screwed. Okay? And so he's really kind of really bawling Christ out. Okay? And so finally what happens is he decides, okay, see, what you're asking of people is impossible. I'm going to let you go, but don't come back. And so the way that little chapter in there, which in a lot of ways encapsulates the whole novel, The Brothers Karamazov, is that Christ kisses the Grand Inquisitor and leaves. And, you know, the Grand Inquisitor is a system that kind of takes on a persona. And you don't have stop the spears, you have one of the spears kind of winning, right? And the Inquisitor says, you know, I know better what people need than you. They're not ready for you. So I'm it. Get lost. I'm going to let you go. And so, you know, at that particular point, it's really easy to forget what Christ represents. In fact, Dostoevsky was very much into what we call more the Westernization of Russia, you know, in the 19th century. And then what happened? You know, he was exiled to Siberia, and he lived among the peasants in Siberia for a bit. He began to realize that there was a very deep faith among those people, the peasants. And it was around what he called the Russian Christ, which is about acceptance, it's about love, okay? And so, you know, in that way, you know, when I was doing the grad school thing, I mean, Dostoevsky was really a lot of fun. And the Legend of the Grand Inquisitor was, I don't know, it really moved me, obviously, okay? I'm going to check the time because we're getting towards the But what we're covering today is, you can get into this, very much like through the Grand Inquisitor. But we want to approach, in our own way. What Osensei was doing with Take Musu was he was saying, get away from the Grand Inquisitor and let's be more like Christ. And this mixing different cultures in East and West is very, very, how should I put it? It's sometimes very complex, and you create more problems doing that. But alas, that's what comes up for me at this point. Anybody? So we covered the 30 movements in some detail, okay? And also kind of worked the first 4, which sometimes, you can read about it, you go, oh, he was into all this spirit book stuff. Yeah, I kind of like it, it's kind of cool. Or conversely, what was that about? I just want to train, okay? And one thing I've always found about, the art is that it's always deeper than where we are. And, where I am, I just want to make a joke like that's, or conversely, wow, I got to understand that, but I'm caught up in the upper awareness of it. And so, part of this is boom, boom. Not just the dream of creating, but boom, the actual. Okay. Anybody before we go?
Just that it seems to change a little bit. If I haven't seen you for a while do it, either I'm picking up new things or it's actually changing.
Well, see, the whole thing about Take Musu is it's not that, okay, that was born. It's something that is being constantly born. So yeah, all this stuff is stuff that I mean, even just the actual sequence of the 30 movements, you're constantly, it's not that they're being reborn, but you are. The way you perceive them, the way you perceive the movements, the way you perceive who you are when you're doing the movements, that's constant birth and rebirth. That is creation. See, it's not like, okay, the islands of Japan, no, that sense of creation is still going on. And what bound Izanagi and Izanami, so they didn't go like this, was that force of attraction, which when Sensei talked about love, I don't know that he was really talking about the human condition in love, which is, by the way, very important still. If you love something or want somebody, that's important. But that original attraction between these two forces, Izanagi, Izanami, you can go label one fire, one water, one yin, one yang, whatever. Okay. Anyway, that's it for today. I want to mention that this weekend, and I do have to post it, there is no Mount View Sunday class because of the California Aikido Association meeting, which is at Aikido West. That is something that you have to register for. I have no idea what the stuff is. I talked to the Do Sensei, who's head of the division, says, Jack, I know nothing. I went, okay. So, what do I tend to do? I tend to call in the holiday sensei. get in the flow. Okay. It's not that it doesn't matter to me. It's just that, the stuff we go over matters. Now, what the CAA does provides us with an umbrella, so we keep the connection to Japan. The dons go through Tokyo and they come back to us. And there's a structure, and really, what happens is that there's a business model that sustains Aikido in this chaotic world. And that's important. There's more there, okay? I tend to kind of hang out more in this dimension, okay? So anyway, thank you all. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.